On the other side of politics, there are mounting calls for reform of the Liberal Party's biggest branch in New South Wales. Today, two party activists emailed 10,000 members urging them to support broadening a ban on party officials being lobbyists. The ban was announced by the Prime Minister last week. And senior Liberals have called for an end to branch stacking by New South Wales factional bosses. They blame the practice for hampering the party's efforts to pick up seats in Western Sydney in the election. Matt Peacock reports.
It was the expected Liberal landslide that didn't happen. Two key Western Sydney seats with the so-called battlers who swung to John Howard and New South Wales Premier Barry O'Farrell hardly moved for Tony Abbott.
And the government of Australia has changed.
And the party machine is being blamed. In Greenway, Labor's vote actually increased when the hapless Liberal James Diaz was hidden after an on-camera brain freeze.
6 points. Could you run through them for us?
Well, I can run through all the details of the points, but look, the main thing is...
The 6 points. The 6 points.
Under Kevin Rudd, the boats...
The 6 points. Turn back the boats.
Sure. Look,
nobody else contested the Diaz pre-selection because he and his family had done a stack of the branches and there was no way into that cabal.
And so this is a recipe for a political party that is in deep malaise.
The former member for Parramatta, Ross Cameron, says branch stacks favoured by the Liberal faction bosses not only chose James Diaz, but also led to Martin Zeta's pre-selection in his old seat.
Same thing happened in Parramatta. The Liberal Party's constitution rewarded branch stacking. Martin Zeta took the opportunity that it presented. We stacked in 100 Maronite Lebanese into two branches. It meant the pre-selection was a stitch up and it was a weak, it produced a weak outcome.
Tony Abbott blamed poor performance by the party in Western Sydney for his failure to win the 2010 election. But the New South Wales branch pre-selection procedures remained. Now, calls for direct party member plebiscites to choose candidates are growing louder, even from senior interstate Liberals.
My sense is there is a real groundswell of support really building up strongly in New South Wales. And while I don't want to be critical of the result in New South Wales, in the last federal election there were a couple of seats there that clearly we should have won that we didn't. And I think that will add to the momentum to bring about this change to plebiscites.
I mean, the extraordinary thing is that you can become a branch member in Parramatta, as I was, and not have the opportunity to vote for your candidate. You know, you only get to vote for the delegate who's going to vote for the candidate, and it's that concentration of the franchise that empowers the factional boss.
Pressure for reform is also mounting on the New South Wales Liberal Party on another front.
Prime Minister, welcome back to Sydney.
Last week, Prime Minister Tony Abbott, then Premier Barry O'Farrell, announced a ban on registered lobbyists being party officials.
You can either be a power broker or a lobbyist, but you can't be both. You can't be both.
Within hours, the controversial faction-heavy Michael Photius resigned from the state executive, along with another colleague. But today, in an email to nearly 10,000 state members, party activists John Ruddock and Walter Villatora have called for the changes to go further. Our party's now at a crossroad, they've written. The New South Wales Liberal Party is unique. Our lobbyists have, until now, not only been influencing lawmakers, they've been installing many lawmakers. John Ruddock wants laws, not just a code, also banning the single-issue lobbyists currently not required to register. Until last week's resignations, 10 of the 16 elected to the state executive were lobbyists, and more than half of these still remain.
People who are registered lobbyists have now resigned, but there are a significant group of people who are in-house lobbyists. And, well, if those reforms that I'm proposing come in, that they wouldn't be able to serve.
Including the state president. I mean, he lobbies for online gambling.
Well, I'm going to be put in the gulag, Matt, if you get me to comment there, so I'll have to say no comment on that one.
But, I mean, something needs to be done.
Oh, yes, and something is going to be done. I feel very confident. The membership of the party now is outraged about what's happening. The membership of the party is delighted with what Tony Abbott has done. So, yes, I believe something is going to be done.
You all set to go?
On the other side of politics, something different is already being done.
You win. OK, so Albo goes second.
Almost by accident, it seems, the newly vanquished Labor Party has now embraced at least the partial participation of its members in choosing its new leader.
Labor are going to steal a march on us here. And if we want to be competitive, we have to be putting forward the cream of each generation as the candidates representing ordinary Australians through the Liberal Party. And the only way we will attract them to our cause is to broaden the franchise and give them a feeling they've got a real chance.
Neither the New South Wales Liberal president nor its director were speaking publicly today, although Director Mark Neeham did observe that the party had picked up 4 new seats in Western Sydney, including one, Banks, that it's never held before.
We have Banks, Daryl Mallam's been defeated, a Liberal elected David Coleman for the first time since the seat was created in 1949.
Nor were the failed candidates, Martin Zator or James Diaz, speaking publicly. But behind the scenes, say party observers, the reform pressure is mounting.
All the people I speak to in the party, and that's quite a lot, are very fired up about this issue.
This is the absolute opportune time to give every member of the party a say in the pre-selection of our candidates and minimise the potential for the manipulation of pre-selections that no doubt is there at the moment.
You've got to take the power, which is currently concentrated in the hands of a few factional leaders, and you've got to push it out to the rank and file members.
Matt Peacock reporting.